So continuing our discussions on the cascading style sheet, I wanted to just bring to your attention that these are some of the browser extensions. So sometimes in your code, you might see a code which shows that for that particular page, if it is been opened by Mozilla, then that will be included within your style sheet. So if you see something like MOZ, which means that if browser, these are some of the newer extensions that are added to the browser. So if you are opening it with Mozilla, then you are going to use this column and count 3, so you can bring something in like this. Also, if you are opening it with this rendering engine called WebKit, then you can include something like this in your cascading style sheet, which will support the table or a column count like this. So these are some of the browser extensions that we can add to it. But we will now spend some time with the embedded style sheet, and also I'll refer to some of the external styles that we'll be adding in our code. And also for our purpose, what I have done is I am going to open up the pages. So I'm going to open up some of the pages of the tutorial. So for example, if I want to open up the TSS home, I'm going to open it up with Notepad. So this is opened up with the Notepad IDE, and some of the other ones are going to be opened with Visual Studio, and I'll tell you why I'm going to do this. So this is going to be opened with a Visual Studio. This one has the dark or the black background, whereas the Notepad has the white background. And the reason for doing this is, again, to show you my folder structure. So I'm going to bring up the folder structure that I am using for my example here. So this is what I did. I had created a folder on my desktop called CTS 1851. Within that, I have a folder called Chapter 2, and then I separated the two tutorials. So this particular one is the one that you see from the book, and this is the one that I'll be opening up through Notepad to show the code as it is getting built. However, when I've completed the tutorial, these are the ones that I'm going to open with my Visual Studio. This is the one with the dark background. So this will show you how the code should look like. And then I will go through the individual components of the cascading style sheet and the code for each page. Okay. So let's start taking a look at the one that is not completed. So this is my first one, which is the TSS home. So at this point, as you can see, you start with a doc type HTML. Remember, this is the element that is supported by the HTML5. Previously, before HTML5, the doc type used to be written in a little different format, but for our HTML5, this is something that you can use. And then you also start with your HTML, and you specify over here that you are using this language English. And these are all done to let the web browser pick up this code and understand what these things means. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will go through the individual elements, which are going to be a reference for what you have learned in your first chapter, and I'll continue doing that. Continue to show some of the new tags and explaining the code. Now, once I create my head, so HTML, beginning of my HTML, and at the very end, you have ending of your HTML. Now, remember, these are your close tags, which means it has to have an opening tag and a closing tag, and the difference between opening and closing is this / right here. So similarly, within your HTML, you have a head tag, which is the beginning over here, and the end is over here. Okay. Within that, you have a comment section. Now, this is also very important, that this is one of the best practices of HTML, where you not only write what this file is all about, but then you also add in your author and your date. So if you are going to be adding something to this, you should put your author name and your date, and also it tells you the file name that you have. So these are some of the best practices that you will see in the chapter. And this is also good for somebody who's coming after you to maintain this code, to tell what kind of information is contained in this particular page. Some people go a little more extensive, where they might even add some of the links that they're adding to. So if they include all these links that they're adding to, they will include those files as linking to, so that again it is easier for somebody to come back and troubleshoot after you. This is your opening of your comment tag and closing of your comment tag. The next section is talking about the metadata. So it is giving you information about the character set. We are using the UTF-8. And then we are creating some keywords, and these are all important for the browser. So when the browser is doing a search, it will pull up search according to the keyword. So your tag name, remember this is your element, meta, and then your attribute, and then this is your value. So name is your attribute, your value is keywords, and the content would have all these 4 descriptive information, which are meta tags about the page. And again, you can also add things like cycling, sports, because this is also describing the page. So all these string or the term that you use for the meta tag is going to be looked upon if somebody is doing a search which would match your triathlon, running, swimming, cycling. So again, general description of sports page or maybe outdoor, you can add more meta, and that is going to help bring up your page. This is your title. This is one that is going to show when you render it through a browser. And this is going to be end of your head. So within your head tag, you should always have your meta tags, your title tags, and then you would close your head tag. The next section is your body. Inside your body, you have a header section, and in your header section, you're bringing in an image. By looking at the extension over here, PNG, you know that this is an image, and this is the file. Now again, at this point, this file is within the same folder, so that is why you do not have to specify the entire name of the path. So this is why it's important that your image is within the same file. Otherwise, when you render the page, this image is not going to show. Okay, so you have to be very, very careful. This is the alternate. So if your image does not show, then this is the description that would come up. Okay. And this is the beginning of the header, and this is the closing of the header. So this is an example again of a closed tag. However, this image tag, as you can see, it doesn't have a separate image closing. This is the one tag. So you have your image, you have your source, and then you end your image tag over here. So these are your open tags. Okay. Next, you have a navigation. So again, this is a close tag, opening and closing. And then inside you have your headers. Headers, as you learned from the prior chapter, goes from H1 through H7. H1 has more or higher of a font, and H7 is the one that has the lowest level. So depending again upon the headings that you're using, you can have a main heading called links. You can have a subheadings that should be H2. You should have H3 to be, subheading. So that actually follows some of the accessibility from the accessibility standards that we have defined. This is an unordered list. So that is telling you again opening and closing tags. Within your unordered list, you have your list. So again, these are all given by probably a bullet point. So it's unordered, so you do not have any numbers, and you can specify the kind of list that you want to show here. So this is your list. Inside your list, you have some links. So ahref is basically pointing to a link. So this is now going to this particular page, which is tsshome.html. Again, remember, this has to be kept within the same folder for the link to work. So, and then the body is going to show home. So if you click on home, then it's going to link to this page called tss.html. Okay, the tss_home.html. So these are the writings that you will see on the web page. So these are your script, and behind this script, these are the links that it is taking you to. So home, by clicking on home, it's going to take you to this home page. By clicking on running, it's going to take you to this run page. So these are all your lists that you have. Now inside this list, you have a news group, and within the news group, then again you have another link. So this is what you see, active.com. Now if you want to see the web page, of course you can view the page. So within your links, I wanted to show you the difference between before you apply your cascading style sheet and after you apply. So this is how the page is going to show before you apply all the designs on this page. So at this point, you can see that this is your link. So this is your heading, which is your H1. And inside you have this unordered list. So you actually have all this list. So this is what I was referring to earlier. So by clicking on home, you're going to connect to tsshome.html. So if I actually click on it, it should go and find my tsshome.html. Now, if they're not kept in the right folder, this is exactly what will happen. Okay, so just wanted to show you that. So this is all the links. However, you see over here, there's a news group that you are creating a separate news group, which is not showing unless you apply your cascading style sheet. So remember, if I'm opening this thing up with my notepad, and this is what you're seeing in your notepad, there is no cascading style being applied over here. However, the same page, when I will open with the Visual Studio Code, after I apply all the cascading style sheet, you will see it is going to render a little differently. Okay, so here is your list that you have. You end your navigation right here. Then you're adding some of the ID tags that is going to associate with this article. And again, think about the space that you have. Remember from the very first chapter, it divided a page into your header section, your article section, your sidebars, and then your aside. Remember those semantics? You have to be very familiar with those, because when you actually come to the body, you need to know the semantics and how you're going to break it out or break out your content using the correct semantics. So here I'm using this article, and within my article I'm creating an ID, and these are important because I would like to link some of these things with my cascading style sheet, and I would apply some styling on my article through my cascading style sheet. Okay, and again I'll show you after the whole thing has been completed. This is my H1 tag, and remember what it's doing is it is creating this heading right here. So So right now you have links as H1, about TSS as your H1 as well. But inside you have a photo PNG. So right here, this is probably the photo that you have applied here. And again, it is showing because this is still in the same folder and there is no alternate tag. So if for some reason the photo doesn't show up, then there are not going to be any text that would describe what it was supposed to have. Okay, that is basically the function of these alternate tags. And then inside you actually have paragraphs, so it is actually separating the paragraphs inside. So starting from since 2002 all the way up to needs, that's your first paragraph. The second one is separated again with a tag right here, and then you have your H2, so this is the subheading. This is your H2, so this font is a little different than the other one. And as you will see that with the cascading style sheet, I can actually apply styling to each of these elements. And that's really what we will try to do with those embedded style sheet. You know, either external style sheet or your embedded style sheet. And then you have your header again. So we are going to more of our headers, paragraph, you know, again, unordered list. Inside you have your list again. Now you are using these tags called strong, which is going to render a little differently. So let me bring up the page here. Within running, cycling, and swimming is using this strong tag, which is making this thing a little bold. So this is your unordered list. And if I continue more, again, separate paragraphs, heading, again, paragraph, and then this is where we end our article. Okay. Then you have an aside tag. So technically, when it is showing my page, which is my final page, after I apply all my cascading style sheet, this should be showing somewhere over in this section, because remember our semantics for the page. So this is your link and this is the main section, and then this is the aside section. Now what I wanted to show you is this. This is the final product. So this is where you have your links, and this is coming to the side, and then you have this section, which is the article, and then you see how the image is coming right next to this section that you have separated out. These are all separated by paragraphs. So this is part of your article, and this is the aside. So same in the same body, you can break out your page into an aside tag so that you can have kind of a column-like appearance. Okay, and then you have your classes, and again you're breaking these things out into section, and then your philosophy, and this is another section or a paragraph that you created. At the end, you have a footer. Okay, this is where you actually write the footer section, and some of these dots that you're seeing, or these bullet points, are being brought by some of the special characteristics that you're bringing in. I'll go through these things individually as when we go through our cascading style sheets. I also told you how they have broken out the links into sections. So this is one section, this is another section, and this is another section. Okay, so this is how the page would look like after you apply your cascading style sheet to this page. Okay, now one thing I also wanted to show you is again, by keeping it, as you can see, if you look at my path, this is my 1851 folder, this is my folder called chapter 2, and this is where I have my tutorial completed. So all my files are within. So if I click on any of these pages, it's going to change or connect me to the running page. So now my HTML page changed, My cyclic page changed, my swimming page changed, or if I want to come back to my home, then I'm coming back to my home. And this is only possible because all these files have been kept in the same folder section.